Yakima police tell me a 19-year-old driver with a 23-year-old passenger in the car was driving really fast on Washington Avenue here. First hit this power box right behind me. They've since replaced it, rolled several times before hitting the second power box right over here, knocking out power to the airport. He then flew 30 feet in the air and finally hit that control tower up there and landed on its top. Como pueden ver, la nieve me llega hasta las rodillas. So not only can students get their food handler's permit, but they can also get a CPR license. You good? Cualquier cosa que vaya a hacer afuera, no se le olvide su repelente para los zancudos. Cierre los ojos. Bob and Sherry had all this sagebrush in front of their home. Now you can see how easily this would have caught on fire with just one ember. Bob took it upon himself to remove it from their property, and he has a wood chipper coming in to dispose of the rest of it. Como pueden ver atrás de mí, hay un helicóptero lleno de bomberos listos para combatir las llamas. Now as you can see to my left here, the car appears to have gone through that railing and it went airborne over a canal. The fire started around noon, and firefighters say that the wind has pushed it east and it's now about 3 miles from the city of Vantage. Hoy este parque se ve tranquilo, pero eso no fue el caso en 5 de mayo, cuando un joven de 13 años le disparó a 5 personas dejándolas heridas. Ahora ese joven está libre. The Pitbull Pen's mission is to show people that pit bulls are really just big babies, like Claudine here. Can I have a kiss? Please? Beasley, how are you doing? That's what I thought. She's doing great. Now we know it took about 3 hours to bake cookies in our news car at 170 degrees. So, does anyone want dirty car cookies now?
Now, Jessica, a lot of us may be wondering, how exactly are sexual assault investigations handled by law enforcement?
Yeah, Tracy, well, the sheriff's office says it can be different depending on whether it's a kid or adult. Generally, if the officer's responding for the first time, they make sure that the victim has somewhere to stay, they don't have contact with the suspect, and they try to put them in touch with resources. Right now, the first detection of West Nile virus in mosquitoes of the year in Washington is in Kennewick. Después de varios días investigando el tiroteo que ocurrió en Highland Park, Illinois, el 4 de julio, according to court documents, 51-year-old Javier Francisco Vigil entered the Wild Horse Resort and Casino Wednesday. Según la Administración Nacional Oceánica y Atmosférica, muchos eventos que tomaron lugar en diferentes partes del país rompieron récords históricos. Day after day, we hear about a new mass shooting. With that being the case, a lot of people are thinking, are we next? And is our city prepared to handle that? I spoke with our local hospital to see how far they think an active shooter would be able to get on their campus. If you counted all the flowers in this pot, you still wouldn't reach the number of mass shootings that have happened this year alone. According to Gun Violence Archive, which collects data from over 7,000 police organizations, 233 mass shootings happened so far this year. The increasing number begs the question, if it happened here, would our local agencies be ready to respond?
I think that our officers are still fairly well prepared for any type of incident that they're going to run into in the city.
Officers continued training for mass shootings during the pandemic. But before that, agencies throughout the county held scenario drills.
Those live exercises are probably the best test of putting our officers in those situations. It's all good to see on paper and in a scenario, but when you actually have to walk yourself through it, we can put together some pretty realistic training now.
After questions about the way law enforcement in Texas handled the active shooter at Robb Elementary, I asked Captain Boyle how they decide who a priority to save is.
So we put ourselves behind the victims and the non-involved people.
The chief medical officer for Yakima Valley Memorial, Dr. Marty Brugman, tells me the hospital would prepare to receive victims by going into incident command. Hospital leaders would be assigned tasks and decide how to respond.
The benefits of COVID is we've been in incident command pretty much non-stop for 2 years now, so we've gotten very good at incident command.
The hospital also had some practice responding to a shooting earlier this year after thinking there was an active shooter at Ike in March, when 2 kids were shot in the parking lot. I asked Dr. Brugman how they would respond if a shooting happened on their campus, like the shooting at a Tulsa clinic Wednesday.
You know, Jessica, I don't know that you ever can prepare yourself to have it.
Precautions have been put in place, like active shooter training for staff, armed security, and checkpoints at every entrance, with bag checks, metal detectors, and wanding. These checkpoints were put into place a few years ago after a number of incidents where people brought weapons into the hospital. I asked Dr. Brugman how far he thought an active shooter could get if they started in the parking lot. He tells me he doesn't know because it depends on a lot of things, including what weapon they use.
Medical detectors aren't going to stop somebody coming in with a machine gun. That's, I think, all of our worst fears is, it's one of these active shooter events, whether it happens at an office, a school, hospital, mall, wherever it is.
Kirk Lyman ha estado recibiendo tratamiento para cáncer por 6 años en el Centro de Cáncer de Astria. Muchos días viene a esta silla y mira por la ventana.
This is kind of my chair. The thing that makes this cancer center unique for me.
Lo que hace que este centro de cáncer sea único para mí es que el personal es amoroso y afectuoso. Literalmente son tan amorosos. Por el otro lado, cuando miro ahí, veo una calle y algunos carros. No hay nada que me brinde apoyo o consuelo. Él es uno de muchos pacientes que están pasando por situaciones parecidas. Elizabeth Martínez, la directora de oncología, me dice que por eso quieren recaudar fondos para hacer un jardín. La idea nació de ver la experiencia de una paciente.
Each time she came, it was a pretty stressful time for her.
Y cada vez que venía era un momento bastante difícil para ella. Y decía que deseaba tener algo hermoso para mirar.
All this will be plants full of flowers, grasses, trees, and shrubs. So they see parked cars.
Ahora ven carros estacionados y la calle ocupada. Queremos cambiar eso. Como paciente, Kirk dice que le gusta mucho la idea. Incluso donó $100 para hacer el jardín posible.
Well, I think personally it just gives you something else to realize that.
Personalmente, creo que te da algo más de ver que hay más de la vida de lo que está dentro de esta clínica. Y la vida puede continuar. Todavía tiene algunas cosas hermosas que ofrecer. Y creo que un jardín mostrará eso. Para hacer el jardín una realidad, el Centro de Oncología necesita recaudar $40,000. Y le están pidiendo donaciones a la comunidad.
You're going to walk onto the patio here, which will have brick pavers.
Usted puede comprar una banca o un ladrillo en el camino en el jardín y dedicarlo a un ser querido que ha muerto de cáncer o hacer una donación. Y un Boy Scout está ayudando con eso. Está ayudando con este proyecto para ayudarlo a llegar a nivel de águila. Jensen va a ayudar a armar bancas en el jardín. Dice que aparte de llegar al nivel de águila, le gusta la idea de tener la habilidad de ayudar pacientes como Kirk.
I like helping with the Cancer Care Center.
Me gusta ayudar en el centro de cáncer. He escuchado muchas historias sobre personas que han tenido cáncer y perdí un abuelo en ambos lados de la familia por cáncer antes de nacer. Styrofoam, food wrappers, and even garbage bags is just some of the trash that's been left here by illegal campers. The county is going to work to clean all this mess up as soon as the water levels go down. Now, this may look like a lot of trash, but this isn't even the worst of it. Mountains of trash, drug paraphernalia, and human waste have all been found along the Yakima River, left there by illegal campers. The Yakima Health District tells me these things often make their way inside the river.
Public health hazards such as fecal matter, any syringes, excess garbage, or other material entering the river to be cleaned up.
The county has been conducting cleanups of encampments for about 5 years. But this year they're able to do more with a $60,000 grant from the Yakima Health District to help with the cleanup efforts. According to the Director of Public Services, this money will help pay wages and buy equipment for cleanup.
Biohazard, equipment to actually remove those types of wastes safely, because we don't want to endanger staff or the many volunteers who have participated in these cleanups.
A small section of the cleanup efforts will be done near the Greenway that has outgrown debris that poses a fire danger. Removing fire fuel will also be a focus of the cleanup process.
We eliminate a lot of the opportunity for a wildfire to happen, as what happened here in 2020, which ultimately will help prevent abandoned campfires or things of that nature from going awry.
Freud tells me illegal campers often hope to be left alone. She hopes the frequent cleanups will discourage people from camping along the river. Freud said once they do start the cleanup process, it could take months to get everything cleared up. In Yakima, Jessica Perez, NBC, right now. Con palos, un perro de casa y esperanza. Amigos, familia y desconocidos buscaron en campos, canales y hierba alta por restos de Jennifer, con un objetivo en mente.
Ojalá podamos encontrar el resto del cuerpo para poderle dar cristiana sepultura y así ella descanse en paz y también nosotros estar un poco ya más tranquilos.
Jennifer desapareció el 8 de agosto. Durante meses, sus seres queridos buscaban respuestas. La semana pasada consiguieron algunas cuando un campesino encontró partes de su cráneo en un campo al sur de Granger.
No es la forma en la que queríamos encontrarla. Desafortunadamente, pues ya no podemos hacer nada. Nosotros esperamos con ansias que estuviera viva todavía, pero lamentablemente, como le digo, no fue así.
Tengo dolor de no poder haber ayudado a mi hija, que para mí él fue un cobarde.
La mamá de Jennifer se refiere al novio de Jennifer, con quien fue visto por última vez. El forense médico determinó que la muerte de Jennifer es un homicidio, pero la policía sigue investigando quién la mató. Leonor me dice que no hay duda en su mente sobre quién lo hizo, pero la forma en que el cuerpo de Jennifer terminó es lo que más le duele.
Dejarla tirada a su suerte. Ahora no podemos encontrar todo el resto de su cuerpecito de mi niña.
Mientras no encontraron nada en su búsqueda, planean seguir buscando hasta encontrar todos los restos de Jennifer.
Hasta que se haya encontrado el resto del cuerpo, que nos digan que ya no es posible encontrarlo, entonces sí se le hará su servicio.
Sus padres también esperan que la policía complete la investigación y le den justicia a su hija. Agencias policiales han continuado buscando restos los últimos 2 días con drones y perros. El forense médico me dice que planean continuar la búsqueda pronto,